Hi, I'm Mayor Brandon Whipple, and when I reflect on my first year as mayor, I have to admit it's been a strange year. It was definitely not what I expected. The weekend before I took office, one of our largest employers announced layoffs that could have cost Wichita thousands of jobs. A few months later, Wichita began the battle against the worst pandemic the world has seen in over a lifetime. Throughout the struggles with the economy and with COVID-19, we continued the discussion with community leaders in the wake of the George Floyd killing to re-examine community-centered policing, integrated social services, and the role that we, as electeds, play in promoting a more just and a more fair society. The story of Wichita in 2020 is not an easy one. It's a story of perseverance, of community, of finding opportunities and silver linings in the face of difficult situations. It's a story that Wichitans, and really Kansans, know well. And as Wichita is the heart of Kansas, it is no wonder we exemplify our state motto, "To the stars through difficulty." We went into the budget season needing to cut millions of dollars in an already lean budget. We had to cut programs and prioritize our core services as a city while keeping our first responder budgets whole. We got into the budget not with an axe, but with a scalpel. Because unlike recessions, it wasn't just about making the numbers add up, but also about public safety and responding to the needs that the pandemic presented. We took the advice of public health experts and we closed down in-person classes, replacing them with online classes. Our libraries pivoted, closing in-person centers while creating a drive-through so that parents and students could continue to get those resources they needed while still being safe. While personal gyms and group fitness classes closed, our Parks and Recreation Department created outdoor open-air activities with a COVID-safe approach. We took the tough vote of closing our public pools and splash pads, but found a silver lining by speeding up the aquatics revitalization plan. When we open back up this summer, the pools, splash pads, and new splash parks will be better than they have ever been. Overall, we cut $11 million with an additional $17 million in cuts projected for 2021. But we entered this year in the black, thanks to unexpected savings and our fiscally conservative approach. At City Hall, our employees took on an all-hands-on-deck approach, with city staff taking on tasks and doing extra work to help us get through while we suffered a hiring freeze. Our city employees, the folks who show up every single day to serve our community because the duty of the city must go on, are heroes. We would not have done as well as a city through this crisis if it wasn't for the people who show up every day and work for our city. So for those of you who are city employees, thank you. In response to rising crime, we added more money to our law enforcement community-centered policing strategy, and today have more resources and more officers than at any time in our city's history. Our police academy graduated more female officers than ever before, while enrolling one of the most diverse classes in history. Chief Ramsey is making good on his commitment to ensure our officers reflect the diversity of our community in which they serve. In the wake of the George Floyd murder, when other communities were divided and politicians drew lines in the sand in order to pick a side to score the cheapest of political points, Wichita did something different. Wichita brought everyone to the table and talked policy and reform that builds on the past work of our community activists and our police chief. We adopted the 8 Can't Wait policies, which are shown to lower dangerous confrontations to protect both officers and the citizens they serve. We continued our Integrated Service Response Pilot Program, the ICT-1, so that those experiencing a mental health crisis can receive help from a mental health professional, freeing our officers to go fight crime. Wichita became the first city outside of Minnesota to, in some areas, replace headlight fix-it tickets that disproportionately hurt lower-income folks with vouchers that pay for those lights to be fixed instead. Our focus is on safety and service for all of Wichita. After attending events and protests, it was clear that we needed to do a better job in bringing people to the table, particularly those who have historically been left out. With help from Wichita State University and thanks to the leaders in our community, we crafted an ordinance that established the first standing council on diversity, inclusion, and civil rights to advise the City Council on policy and ensure that the values of our great city remain open and accepting. Wichita can do more than just attack crime when it happens. We can also attack the variables that create crime by investing in social services. Because of the outstanding work of our housing director, Sally Stang, we added $10 million of federal funding to support social services that fight against the variables that cause the conditions for crime. When the pandemic threatened the resources of our nonprofit sector, Director Stang worked as a partner to help those organizations receive these funds so they could continue to serve Wichitans. Instead of paying for one-time hotel rooms, we used one-time federal funds to actually buy a hotel, providing a long-term asset to help our neighbors experiencing homelessness, not just today, but also in the future. As domestic violence was on the rise throughout our country, Wichita responded with $800,000 for our Wichita Family Crisis Center so they can buy a much-needed facility upgrade. Last year, the City of Wichita put more money towards social services and homeless prevention programs than the past 5 years combined. We set a record, which would have stood for years if it wasn't for the second meeting of 2021, which in a single vote, we put $12.5 million of federal money into programs designed to help folks economically impacted by the COVID pandemic. We want to keep people in their homes. We're stronger as a community when moms and dads don't have to drain their savings accounts or rack up high interest credit card bills. Times are tough and not everyone can work from home. Too many parents, like my wife Chelsea, had to cut their hours in half, put their careers on hold, and stay home to help their kids learn online. For those economically impacted by the pandemic, we've created programs to help with rent, to help with utilities, and even offer internet hotspots so that we can help close that digital divide. We offer free bus rides for veterans throughout the summer, and we also offered free bus rides for everyone on Saturdays. We know that our way through this is to get back to the Wichita culture of loving thy neighbor and asking, what can I do to help? Nationally, 1 out of 5 small businesses closed. Wichita's small business community is not immune to these struggles, and when it became clear that our small businesses were taking the brunt of the economic impact from COVID-19, we appointed an advisory council of small business owners so we can keep focused on their needs. This collaboration has led to innovative policies such as the open air ICT permit that lets shops and restaurants offer services in their parking lots and also on sidewalks. We also got feedback about how masks were helping the service sector bounce back as people became more confident and empowered to get out and shop locally and even go on a date night. The City of Wichita has talked about the importance of diversifying our economy for years. And in 2020, we made leaps in this effort by completely overhauling our economic incentive programs to apply more to small businesses as well as to our major employers. Wichita has to be innovative. People tell me that Wichita could be the next Austin, Texas, or we could be the Silicon Valley of the Plains. But innovation doesn't mean copying what another city is doing or trying to mimic another city. Innovation means embracing our core city identity and building on top of what we already do well. Wichita is home to the greatest advanced manufacturing in the world, but we know this. We just don't talk about it. We let our work and our actions speak for itself. When Spirit was not building the MAX, they took on a contract with a national manufacturer, Viair, to build advanced ventilators to help replace the national stockpile. Our machinists and our supply chain business experts took the industry standard of 50 ventilators a week, and we started producing over 500 advanced ventilators a day. In our spare time, Wichita, we shamed the entire ventilator industry and overnight became not just the air capital of the world, but the advanced ventilator capital of the world. The entrepreneurial spirit in Wichita has been around as long as the founding of our city 151 years ago. This spirit has given birth to household names such as Pizza Hut, Coleman, and even White Castle. That spirit lives on in the ever-changing technology industry, in which we're working with our startup community while also attracting international companies to our city. Our latest tech company to call Wichita home is the internet security firm NovaCoast. Nova Coast has headquarters in California, with locations in England, in Delaware, and now Wichita. Their CEO is quoted as saying, "I have never found a place like Wichita." And that's because technology fits so well with the entrepreneurial spirit here in Wichita, and that we expect and applaud risk-taking. And if you fail, we say fail fast so you can get up and try again. Innovation is building upon the foundations set by those before us. In some cases, it's literal foundations. Thanks to the forward-thinking folks in our private sector who look towards old, unused buildings in our downtown core and not just wonder what used to be, but dream of what they may become. Wichita will soon be home to a new medical school housed in those buildings. This medical school will not only bring synergy and economic activity to our core, but also help supply much-needed doctors and medical professionals throughout our state. Many towns throughout our nation depend on institutions of higher education as their primary economic engine, and we're putting one of those right in the middle of downtown. We have got so much accomplished this year that frankly, I don't have time to list them all. From keeping our minor league baseball team to attracting $21 million in federal funds to finally fix the North Junction intersection. We have more investments in our street repairs, federal grants to replenish our aquabeds, federal funds to help us build a new transit center. We're aggressive with opportunities to bring our federal tax money back to Wichita because every dollar spent on infrastructure turns around 2 to 3 times in our local economy, creating a ripple effect of opportunity. Wichita is moving forward, and as your mayor, I wake up every single morning and think, what more can I do to help us move forward? But at night, when I leave the office, and I go home to my wife Chelsea and my 3 sons, AJ, Tristan, and Julian, I think about the 578 people we've lost due to COVID, and the loved ones who go home to an empty house, or walk past an empty bedroom. I think about the parents who have to explain to their children, many might be too young to even understand, that grandma is no longer with us in this life. Wichita is winning the fight against COVID, but it doesn't come without sacrifice. I'm amazed with the stories of our medical community and how they responded to this crisis. I'm told that this year alone, our medical professionals have witnessed 1/3 more death than in average years. And still, they put themselves at risk by showing up every day to save lives. They are the heroes of this pandemic, the ones who spoke truth to power when politicians didn't want to hear that we needed a mask mandate to stop the spread, the ones that in some cases sat next to a stranger as they passed away from COVID so they wouldn't have to leave this life alone. I can't imagine what day-to-day was like for our medical community. Covering extra shifts while COVID workers quarantined, serving on the front line, fighting the worst pandemic in over 100 years. I can never know what that was like for you, but please know that you have our most sincere gratitude. Wichita's future is bright, not because of a mayor or because of the city council or really any institution. Wichita's future is bright because we're home to the best people in the world. Thank you to my fellow Wichitans who, while tested in 2020, has showed through their actions, their grit, their perseverance, and compassion what our city has been known for the past 151 years. It is such an honor to be your mayor. Thank you.